Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Lives Leaf Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me is the guy with three names, Aaron. AWF. Off. Off.
How you
That's
doing,
off.
Frank?
Oh, I just realized something. I wouldn't want to be known by those initials. Mine's not so good either. Mine is FS. Go FS yourself. He's off and I'm FS. Anyway, here we sit. How's your week turned out?
Not so bad. I haven't had to do a lot of traveling, so that's a bit of a relief.
Absolutely. That always comes in handy when you don't have to move around too much. Yeah, so doing some stuff around here, getting a little tired. I don't have as much energy as I used to like 60 years ago. But I still have some energy, just not much of it. So let's talk about somebody else. Well, no, wait. Let's go to the top story. We made snide remarks about, and I think I don't want to say they were justified, but it does raise some issues. When players run afoul socially and do things that are unacceptable that we all agree shouldn't be done. We even find out that the court systems agree that they shouldn't have done some of that stuff. It's curious to see the teams that bring them in to their organization. Last year it was Montreal. This year it's Boston with Miller.
Yeah, this is one of those interesting situations. After having been found guilty of harassing this individual, forcing a kid to eat a lollipop that had been swirled around the inside of a urinal. The Coyotes renounced his draft pick in 2020, and the Bruins picked him up. Now, apparently, one of the conditions of his signing was that he reach out to the individual that he had done harm to and apologize. That apparently, in the intervening 2 years, hasn't happened until last week, where Mitchell Miller reached out to the individual in question over an Instagram message and said that this apology was not connected in any way whatsoever with hockey, which is
Um,
kind of like a sibling saying, I'm only saying sorry, but not because mom told me to.
is this okay, Ma?
Okay, kind of sheds a little bit of doubt onto the veracity
uh,
and validity of it, right?
I, you know, look, we all make mistakes. Aaron, I think I want to make this clear, and I know you well enough to know that you're not the kind of person who thinks you're mistakeless. I know I'm not. I truly believe that, and I think because it's true. Of course, that could be a mistake. So, oh boy, I'm in a vortex of it's crazy now. Anyway, now that I've totally confused everybody, I just like I said, I just find it amusing because Boston is a flagship team in the United States, Montreal a flagship team in Canada, and both in hockey in general. And they pick up guys who everybody else was, the guys had radiation almost, right? They wouldn't touch them, right? So this guy apologizes. That's great. That's great that he apologizes. A little late, and yeah, it's too bad. Um, let's hope that he's learned something. Um, but
I'm mainly just hoping that the apology is genuine, Frank.
well,
That's
I don't think I'm going to judge whether it's genuine or not. All I can question is the manner in which he did it, which I think you were. I agree with you. I think that's what you're getting at. The way he did it doesn't sound very genuine.
no,
You
no.
know,
I mean, to apologize to somebody over an Instagram message is especially when it wasn't just an isolated incident. This, according to the court documents, was an ongoing and long-running
yeah.
abuse of this individual. So to reach out over Instagram and say, "Hey, what's up, bud? Just want to say sorry. By the way, this doesn't have anything to do with hockey." just seems kind of sus to me.
Yeah, and that's at the point of agreeing to sign a contract with the Bruins, and then the contract not being active until you do that action.
Well,
That
and
doesn't say much for
the
that
team
point that
helped
you're
him.
trying to make that he made.
The team helped him write the statement too. The statement reads in part as follows: When I was in eighth grade, I made an extremely poor decision and acted very immaturely. I bullied one of my classmates. I deeply regret the incident and have apologized to the individual. Since the incident, I have come to better understand the far-reaching consequences of my actions that I failed to recognize and understand 7 years ago. I strive to be a better person and positively contribute to society.
Now I'm not laughing out of making fun of this, light of this. It really is nervous laughter because it's just crazy that like I said, for me, those two organizations picking up players like that with that kind of reputation, that carry this image thing is what I'm talking about, right? This image that they have, it seems to run afoul. And last year when Montreal did that, not because of that act, but their season didn't go well after that.
No, it
I'm
didn't go
not
well at
wishing
all.
that on the Bruins because then that would say I'm a Leaf fan. So I'm not wishing that on the Bruins.
Well, I
But
kind
you
of am
can.
wishing it on the Bruins.
But you can. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's serious stuff, and laughing is because it's a joke. Like the whole situation is a joke. It's unacceptable that that it happens the way it did, and if the news that we've gotten is true, if he signed a deal or intended to sign a deal with Boston, and Boston gave him an ultimatum, it still doesn't speak well of the man because he's a man now. He's no longer a grade 8 student,
No,
right?
exactly.
So there you go. So okay, and on the good news front, I was talking about being old and not having the same kind of energy I used to have. Many felt that this might be the year where Tavares, who already was short a couple of steps in good health, might be losing a step or two. Yet he seems to be the best Leaf out there right now.
It's kind of hard to argue with that. A lot of people have been saying that, yeah, it doesn't look like he's there. But the good news is, John actually switched skating coaches over the off season. He's completely reworked his stride now. He looks a lot more efficient. He actually looks a lot smoother out there, which is really nice to see. And I actually think at this point in the season, I think he's actually ahead of his point scoring pace from a few years ago. He had 76 points in 79 games in 2021 to 2022, had 50 points in 56 games, 60 and 63. This is going back to 2019. So far this year, he has 14 points in 11 games. So
Yeah,
he's
so
actually scoring at a better pace.
yeah, he's been historically under a point a game, and now he's at a point a game plus. So
Yeah.
he's definitely playing better. Now, Austin Matthews, the Rocket Richard Trophy winner, in other words, he scored the most goals in the league, is being criticized by a tough guy who maybe played 4 minutes a game.
I tell you, we can't have nice things here in Toronto.
Oh,
We
please.
just
Oh,
can't.
please. It is so stupid. Talking about clickbait. I mean, come on. I'm not even going to say the player's name because he doesn't even deserve to be heard. He has no right to criticize Austin Matthews in that regard because he's criticizing his manhood because that's what he's doing. And I find that personal and objectionable.
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you here. The hacking, that sort of part and parcel with a close checking game, and Konechny is known to be a bit of a disturber. So the fact that he was trying to get Austin to go with him is par for the course, I think. But the fact here's the thing: there are so many people out there that apparently expect a 60 goal scorer who makes his living with his hands to take them and
Pound
punch
a helmet.
somebody's helmet with it. And I don't know about you, but
Why am I laughing at all this serious stuff? Why am I laughing? Because it's stupid. It's so like the first story was dumb, and this is dumber. Like to suggest, and you know what? If the league worked the way that enforcer suggested, he wouldn't have a job.
It's the old. I can't get used to the new HL. I still miss the games where old Iron Elbows McGahee scored 53 goals in 27 games and
In
fought everybody that
practice.
came. It's
In
like,
practice.
geez.
In practice. Because he never scored a goal when it was actually. Oh, anyway, it's just stupid. Austin Matthews is one of the best players in the National Hockey League. He's clearly one of the greatest scorers of this era at this time, to be specific. And he doesn't need any advice on when he should drop his gloves. I don't
No.
think. I don't think so. That really stupid. But what was really nice was the old man came from the blue line and did the old dive. And Konechny was looking for trouble the whole game. It started from the beginning, from the first penalty he took, the way he was behaving to the call. When he got back on the ice, he was yamming bad, doing all that stuff. So he was trying to do what a bunting does, even in a more flamboyant and more intense mode. I think he was in love with the Toronto lights. He's in Toronto, the big time, big show. He's a hometown kid. Well, not a hometown kid, but still, he was putting on a show because he was in Toronto. And you know what, kid? You're a good hockey player. Play hockey. Forget the BS. And don't ever think that you can go after a team's best player and expect that best player to come at you. It ain't going to happen. If it happens, it's going to be a surprise to everyone,
Yeah.
including him.
No, that whole come at me, bro attitude that he has just
Oh,
doesn't quite work.
oh, please. And Matthews has had a pretty rough, he got that cross check in the ribs, if you remember,
Yep.
against the Dallas team. And he really got hurt. So he with inexperience now he's beginning to realize it's something I said from the beginning, and I believe it wholeheartedly. You don't have to punch anybody out, but the threat of it de-intensifies the treatment you get, whether it's from you or teammates. Because if you think you're going to pay for what you do, yes, you're selective. You're a little more selective. Just like a criminal walking down the street. No lights at that house, we're going there. Too many lights at that house, we're not going there.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I think a lot of players get trapped in the whole
Ah,
hey, it's the bright lights, it's the big city, I can make a splash here sort of mentality, and it
put on a
doesn't.
show.
Yeah, exactly.
Put on a show. I love being a small fish in a big pond. Okay, so Toronto haters are going to hate me today. Uh, let's talk about legitimate concerns with Jake Muzzin. His health is really being called into question, but this is nothing new, Aaron. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. We talked about it at the end of last year. We talked about it the year before that. He has had a history of having injuries that have taken him out for prolonged, protracted, long periods.
Yeah, now he has already missed 6 games because of his head and neck injury. He was placed on linked long-term injured reserve earlier last week, and currently is without a timeline. They did take him to see a neck specialist last week as well to determine the severity of the injury, but this has only led to further concern. Um, Chris Johnson was saying that the team is genuinely worried about his long-term health if another neck injury were to happen. Uh, now, here's the problem. They're concerned about whether or not there's going to be a next one. And if there is a next one, could that be the last one? So as it
Yeah,
stands,
a person's health
yeah,
at some point has to take precedence over the career that afforded him a lifestyle that doesn't require him to work that hard the rest of his life. And there are a lot of jobs in hockey for a guy. He has, as far as I'm concerned, he's a smart hockey player. He has great experience, won a Stanley Cup, has the knowledge of the game. He can find work in hockey. You don't have to play to be involved in hockey. And, while there's not as many jobs management wise that equate to players, there still are enough that if you're really interested and if you have an ability, there's an opportunity there. and you can be healthy and enjoy your children because he's still not that old and still has young children. And I know you don't have any, Aaron. I had some, and anybody who's had children knows that it's fun growing up with them.
Well, I
And he
mean,
doesn't
as
want
it currently stands, I do hope he does get the help that he needs and he doesn't risk his health any more than necessary. And he does have that opportunity. On,
absolutely. And go ahead. I'm
on,
sorry.
I was going to say, on the flip side of the coin, with Muzzin out, as well as Murray, Liljegren, and Jordy Ben, the Leafs had $12.46 million in cap relief space. Now, they've already used 6.7 million of that, and they've got 5.52 million remaining. This means that they can actually address the concern, and he doesn't have to come back. There's no
Right.
need for him to be rushed back into service at this point. He's been here for 4.5 years. He hasn't played more than, I think, 50 or 53 games in the season. He had 2 concussions last year before trying to come back during the playoffs. He's served his time. He's put in the hours for this. At
And
the
he's
age
been
of,
put out of 3 of the 4 playoffs that he was in.
yeah, at 33 years old, he doesn't need to prove anything. He's
No,
done everything that there is to do in this league. He can take the
absolutely not.
time, be with his family, use the contracts to its fullest
And
to
enjoy
help his
his
team and help
health.
himself. Yes,
And enjoy
exactly.
his health. There are some things that are more important than money. There are a lot of people who have physical disabilities and or challenges that if they had the money, they would pay anything for it. And that's not, I'm not trying to put down the people who do the best they can with what they have, because they're fantastic, and I'm proud of them. But if you have the choice to stay healthy, why not make that choice? It's one that, you know, well, we've seen how, choices that athletes make do have impacts on their family. And I'm not drawing a parallel here between him and Brady, but Brady's marriage went down the tubes because he just couldn't stop playing.
I
So
wasn't going to mention that, but
oh, but I did, and the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes decisions. Does he really need to make more money? Does he really need to win more championships? Is he that shallow that he can't live without the competitiveness brought on by NFL football? I guess that's the problem. He's addicted to the attention and the challenge of playing every week, which is solid. I get it. There's a lot of satisfaction there, but what are you looking for in life? Pick a
exactly.
lane. Otherwise, it'll get picked for you. And that's my point with Muzzin. So he needs to pick a lane, get in that lane, because that's the lane that he's going to be taking for a while. And that's the lane that's going to affect him the most, and create a lifestyle that he's going to be a part of. That's his choice. He makes that choice. And I pray for the guy that if he comes back, he stays healthy. Last thing we all want is for him to get hurt. But it's scary. I can't imagine how scary it is for him and his family. I'm worried about him, and I know you are. Um, so and nobody would hold it against him if he retired. I'm sure of that. Nobody in the dressing room. No, I don't think any of the fans would either. I know I wouldn't, and I hear you wouldn't. So the Leafs are going to take on the team we talked about earlier that signed Mitchell Miller. They're going to play the Bruins, who have been on a tear.
Oh yeah, no, the Bruins right now are I believe 10-1. So they're first in the Atlantic. It's you know all well and good for them. They built up a certain amount of goodwill with their fans because of this. I'm just afraid that signing Mitchell Miller um, would sort of fritter that away. There were also reports coming out of the Boston locker room that the team leadership group, captains, veterans, that sort of thing, were addressed about the fact that they were going to be signing Miller. And the most frequently heard question apparently was, why? So we'll have to see how this shakes out. But yeah, as it currently stands, you're looking at David Pastrnak, who has 8 goals and 11 assists with 61 shots on goal. You've got Linus Olmark, who's got a 929 save percentage, going up against Samsonov, who has a 920 save percentage and a 2.3 goals against. This looks to be one of those bellwether games. because this is an opportunity for the Toronto Maple Leafs to play up to the level of their playoff bugaboo, the Boston Bruins. And, I think if they can put a decent showing in against them during the regular season and establish some sort of dominance in head games there is a very real opportunity that should we, and in most likelihood, we probably will meet them in the playoffs, then we'll have some experience banked and basically a psychological edge going into that. So not to say that this is a must win, but it's a must win.
It's part of the road.
Mm.
Last year, the Toronto Maple Leafs in October were worse off than they are at the end of this season's October. In November last year, they were 12-2. They were riding the ship. This year, they need to basically replicate that and get a solid position in the playoffs. I keep harping on this. This is a team that has to put itself in the playoffs, not necessarily first overall like they did last year. They were like third in the conference. I think even in the whole league there for a time. They need to play much like that. They have to, because they need to ensure they get a good playoff position, like there's one in the Atlantic Division. So they just need to replicate what they did. To your point, it's a must win in the sense that they need to start trending with wins, not right. The 500 hockey is great if you've got more than 500 in the bank. They got to get above. They got to get above 500, and then they can play 500 from there, and that'll put them in a playoff spot where desperation isn't an issue. Questions about the team themselves within themselves. I know they talk and they put this brave face off, especially Mitchell Marner, who talks about, we don't really listen to you guys. We really don't care what you guys have to say, but they all have families, wives, friends who may just be informing them about what's being said. It's not like it's avoidable on their part. Now, they can go without being affected adversely. They could use it as fuel. But the fact is, it's tough to play in Toronto because you're always a Toronto Maple Leaf. This isn't Florida where you go to Disney World and you're, what's his name?
This is very true. And you know what? This weekend isn't going to be getting any easier for them either, because
Absolutely not.
18 hours after they finish their game in Toronto against Boston, they're on the ice in Carolina to play the Hurricanes. So this is another back-to-back.
Yes, they're the team that the Leafs play able to their Canes.
Yeah, but we
smacked around by the Canes all the time.
I was gonna say we all remember who Kane slew. So
no kidding. Sorry for the religious context, but never mind. It was a pun. Maybe not so funny, but it was punny. All right, let's go over to the second period. In the second period, let's talk about those Canadian hockey teams. And one of the teams that looked like it might be making strides, but still finding itself outside the playoffs, the Ottawa Senators, have sparked some interest. They've entered into hearing offers for the team. And one of the first offers is from a Canadian actor, some guy named Ryan Reynolds.
Indeed. This young gentleman from Vancouver has expressed an interest in potentially buying an ownership stake in the team. Owning a sports franchise isn't something that's exactly new to Ryan Reynolds. He's also the co-owner of a UK team called Wrexham over in their one of their soccer leagues. Now, one of the stipulations for the team going up for sale is that any new ownership group would not be allowed to move the team from Ottawa. So that guarantees that they're going to be staying there. In addition, I believe one of the other conditions was that they continue to develop the LeBreton Flats area for the team to move into. So that's part of it. Now, the NHL, the Senators themselves aren't commenting earlier about any of this, but they did retain Sportico, which is a banking firm that helps with team sales. So there's obviously there's the new LeBreton Flats deal that's going on. There's the interest from global megastar, dare I say, Canadian Ryan Reynolds. So this is something else that they need to consider.
A team that looks like it's on the up and up. Not as well as Buffalo's improved, but still that we all have faith. No, I shouldn't put words in your mouth. I have faith in the direction that they're headed. I believe they're trending better. It's just really hard to trend well enough in the Atlantic Division. If you're not great in the Atlantic Division, the playoffs are kind of a tough road to hoe. And then you got some teams in the other divisions that are improving. So it'll be a real interesting season for the Ottawa Senators. Another team in Canada, let's go to the next, and that's the Edmonton Oilers. They falter in the third period, Aaron. Their consistency drops in that game against the Devils.
Yeah, this is actually kind of interesting because the Devils, for the long time, had been the butt of jokes. And if anybody watches the Sportsnet channel, they seem to be a regular feature on webisodes called Dang It, which is when they make bad plays. As it currently stands, though, the New Jersey Devils are currently 8-3-0 and first in the Metropolitan, ahead of Carolina and ahead of the New York Islanders. So they've managed to turn things around this year. They scored 2 goals in approximately 7 seconds to take the lead 4-3 and put the Oilers down. So it was one of those, Edmonton got out early, but unfortunately, with 3:15 left in the game, New Jersey tied up the game, and then 7 seconds later went ahead 4-3, and that was all she wrote.
To follow up on Aaron's asinine statement, the Vancouver Canucks have, what do you know? This is a team that came out of the gate. Well, they didn't come out of the gate. They stood at the gate. They're like the racehorse that goes, so now what do I do? And lately, though, they've straightened things out.
Yep. Andrei Kuzmenko actually had himself a hat trick as Vancouver beat Anaheim 8-5. There's a defensive struggle for you. But glad to see they're sort of getting back on the right footing.
Yep.
As it stands now, Kuzmenko actually has 10 points, 6 goals, and 4 assists in the past 11 games. So he's starting to pick that up. Kuzmenko originally came over from the KHL and signed with Vancouver this summer. Team management is actually very happy with the progress that he's made and the fact that he's adjusted as well. Also, Elias Pettersson, one of his line mates, has said that he's very happy that he's there as well. Small byline to this, Kevin Bieksa has signed a 1-day contract with the Vancouver Canucks so that he can actually retire as a Canuck. So that's an interesting little side.
Was he applying for a TV job with the Vancouver Canucks?
He already has one with Sportsnet. So not sure if he wants to double dip in the local Vancouver market or not.
I mean, wow. You wouldn't think of him as being a suck-up like that, eh?
Hey, well,
just kidding. Good for him. He was a Vancouver Canuck the last time the Vancouver Canucks played in the Stanley Cup against the Bruins, in fact, our favorite team. And basically, was a real important cog in that machine that drove to a couple of seasons of real intense. I think they carried Canada's flag those years. So, they were the best team in Canada at the time. Yeah. Speaking of the best team in Canada, well, at least the one that everybody thinks is the best team in Canada, has lost 3 in a row, known as the Flames. They're handed their 3rd consecutive loss to the Predators.
Yeah, this is one of those puzzling little dips. And it seems to be a thing that's typical of Sutter-led teams. They'll be going along great for 5 or 6 or 7 games, and then there's a little bump in the road here. I mean, Forsberg and Duchesne each had a goal and an assist on Thursday. It just didn't seem that there was any way that they could actually solve them. Mark Jankowski and Roman Josi also scored for Nashville. And at least Blake Coleman, broke out of his scoring slump. That was his first goal of the season for Calgary, who are now 5-4-0.
Cam Connor, not McDavid. That's game winner in OT for the Jets.
Yeah, so this is Montreal is again having issues. I don't wish ill on any team, but
except this one.
Well, I mean,
except this one.
Well, Kyle Connor scored a $1.45 into overtime to give the Jets the win on Thursday. He beat Montembeault. and it's his first goal on a netminder so far this season. The only other goal that Connor scored has been an empty net goal in their season opener. So it's been a bit of a dry spell for him. Hellebuck was good. He made 20 saves for Winnipeg. This is part of their first. This is the first game, sorry, of a 3-game homestand at the newly christened Canada Life Center out in Winnipeg. So,
okay, let's move away from the Habnots and let's go to the Habs, and they are the Canadian Football League. Great news, great news with the wonderful way new ownership has changed the BC Lions. They now get a chance to change the Grey Cup. And I think in a more positive direction, not that it hasn't been, but I'm looking forward to this Grey Cup. I can see the BC Lions doing a great job. It's an indoor game. Been 12 years since there's been an indoor game. This is going to be awesome. What do you think, Aaron?
I am actually really looking forward to this. This will actually be, I believe, the 17th time that they'll be hosting it. That's the second highest total behind Toronto. So it'll be good to see that there in November 2024. The ownership group has gone above and beyond with getting fans back into the stadium and appealing to new fans. So Amar Dolman, who bought the club just as recently as August 2021, has been instrumental in helping them, A, fill the stadium, and B, get them their highest win total since 2016, finishing this season at 12-6. So I'm very glad to see the direction that they've taken with that. I'm looking forward to hopefully also hearing about a halftime show well before the game actually goes up this year.
Oh my goodness. Not all-star Argonauts running back Andrew Harris returns to practice with the Toronto Argonauts.
Glad to see this. I know that he was sidelined with a significant injury, but he apparently it wasn't the end of it. It wasn't the end of his season like it was apparently supposed to be. He recovered faster than expected. The issue now becomes, though, does Wallet come out for Harris, or do they try to split time just to get both of them some reps?
Both would be my guess. I can't see them relying on a very recently recovered player to carry the ball, especially with the success that Willett has had.
No, most definitely.
Don't want to lose that.
No,
I'm more concerned with him taking up a spot in the lineup and not being ready to play. That's my biggest concern. I hope the Argos make sure that he's ready for his reasons for health. But he's again, here we go with competitive drive, right? This is a guy with a lot of competitive drive, admirable, in fact. And he has played injured before, and he has been very successful while injured and playing before. And he's done it in the Grey Cup, and he's been the MVP. So how the heck do you keep him out of the lineup, for goodness sake?
That's a very serious consideration that they're going to have to make before, obviously in practices leading up to the games, just to make sure. Because, obviously the goal here is to win. And right now the Argonauts are in one of the best positions to do that they've been in a while. So,
and he knows how to win.
He does know how to win.
Why they brought him
here. But, you can't really shrug off Wallet's achievements on the field while he's been out with injury.
No, absolutely not. But it wouldn't be the first time that the fact that Harris is a Canadian is advantageous in that regard. So he can take up a Canadian spot, which is of value in the Canadian Football League. Let's talk about the Stamps and Lions. The big news is Whitehead is a non-participant in practice. BC needs him. He's one of the reasons why they've got what I think is one of the best receiving corps in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a concern for them. Figueroa didn't practice. Whitehead was out. The good news is that, everybody else was actually full participants in the practice. So, there's that heading into the weekend here. Delvin Breaux participated all week. Javon Cottoy was, with a quad injury, was limited on Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday participated full. TJ Lee was limited on Wednesday, but he also practiced full, as did Jacob Scarfone. So there's that to look at. On the flip side here, you've got the Calgary Stampeders. Marcellus Branch is out. Joshua Coker is out. Javian Elliott and Malik Henry are questionable. Parnell Motley
Like
and
Henry's out.
Falarin Oramalade are both questionable. Trey Robertson and Dimitri Royer are out, but Josiah Shakel and Nick Stotts are questionable for now as well. So we'll see how it shakes out.
And then there's the Owls and the Ticats.
Now, that's actually a game that I'm going to be following with great interest. Either team coming through is obviously going to be fantastic, but my question for you, Frank, is out of all of this, who would you rather the Argonauts play, Hamilton or Montreal?
Don't care.
Don't
Don't
care?
know. Don't care.
Well, that's good because, as it currently stands for the Alouettes, Reed, Richards, White Jr., Jameson, Lindley, Awe, and Wilson are all out. Usher, Weineke, Sewell, Matt, Lyon, Lewis, and Schleiger are all in. On the Hamilton Ticats side, Terry Godwin, Valentin Nawa is out, and Don Jackson is out. But Micah Johnson, Van Ziel, Riley, Carney, they're all back in again. So this could be interesting.
Okay. So all four of these teams, I'll call this the animals, the animal version of the playoffs in the Canadian Football League. Is it a horse or a lion?
I am going to say horses.
I said horses too to David yesterday. And I also said this is the one where the bird's going to catch the cat.
Well, Tweety usually came out ahead on Sylvester, so I'm going to have to agree with you on that one.
The reason I'm saying that, and I'll give you the reasons for both. I don't think that Calgary's professionalism will be penetrated by BC's quarterbacking, no matter which quarterback is in there. I could be wrong, but I think if the kid plays, he's not gonna be at 100%. If he is, they've been keeping from us his preparation schedule, because for him to be really good, I would think that he would have had to have been healthy for a couple of weeks before he could reach a kind of level of play that is required in the playoffs. Calgary's professionalism and I'm telling you, this team has played angry from the beginning of the year. I said it from the beginning, from training camp. It showed even in the exhibition games they played. They were on fire. They were on a mission, and I think that mission isn't done yet for them. As far as Hamilton and Montreal is concerned, I could be wrong about this one, and that would be okay because my Hamilton fans would be happy with this and good for them. But I happen to think that the experience that Harris brings as a quarterback can overcome the lack of experience at quarterback and effectiveness that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have. I believe the defenses are washes, so that's going to be the difference here. Defense making big play that the other one doesn't. Pick sixes, I think, could be the thing. If Hamilton's going to win, that's how they're going to do it. They're going to do it with pick sixes. If Montreal does it, it's because Harris finds the end zone and their defense basically gives them good field position to do just that.
Now, see, I'm a bit more of a numbers guy. I'm really looking more at how Calgary performed on the road versus how BC did at home. So, the Stampeders were 7-2-0 on the road this year. BC is 6-3-0 at home. Yeah, sure, BC has the edge divisionally at 8-4-0 over Calgary's 7-5-0. But at the same time, I think that there's enough. Calgary's got enough going on when they're on the road that they can take them. And again, like you mentioned, regardless of which quarterback is in, that Calgary defensive line is solid. So we're not worried about that. Again, looking at Montreal and Hamilton, while Montreal was only 4-5-0 at home, Hamilton is 2-7-0 on the road. So that definitely points to things being in Montreal's favor in that respect. Divisionally, it's a wash, 5-5-0. Defensively, again, it's a wash. I think at this point here, friend of the show, Trevor, the quarterback from Montreal actually has a bit of an edge over Hamilton. Just because there have been injury questions that are still hanging around. So.
That's where it comes from. And Evans has been an interception machine. He for some reason this season had a bad start and it continued, but he has shown some of that ability that allowed the Hamilton Tiger Cats to have the audacity to let Mazzoli go. right?
Hey, unfortunately, those occasional flashes of brilliance were exactly that, occasional flashes of brilliance. It hasn't panned out really well for them.
And Schultz has played well when he comes in. If they win, I think it'll be in the hands of Schultz to win it. But I hope Evans plays well. Don't get me wrong. I'm just stating what I like. It's balls and strikes, right? What do I hope? Well, every athlete who goes through a tough time, I'm going to root for him, and Evans is at the top of that list. But rooting for somebody and believing factually with the facts that you have in front of you, right? Yeah, I just don't think he's ready to do it. And but you never know. I mean, this is his third kick at the can. His third playoff where the ball's been in his hands, and he's had an opportunity to take Hamilton to the promised land. It hasn't happened as yet. And to your question, if Hamilton wins and they play the Argonauts kind of have Evans's number. So if you're a statistic guy, you know what I'm talking about.
No, certainly.
Yeah, so that it'll be real interesting. Looking forward to the Grey Cup. It's going to be awesome. These playoff games this weekend, folks, you're really going to enjoy yourselves. Um, you want to talk about the NBA?
I mean, we can touch it. It sort of ties in with Logan Mailloux and with Mitchell Miller.
What happened with this dumped NBA star? Went after a team therapist?
So basically, what happened was Dr. Hilly Cawthon filed a lawsuit in Bexar County, Texas, against Joshua Primo, and the San Antonio Spurs. A lawsuit in which she explicitly stated she's not seeking monetary damages. There's no money in this for her whatsoever. She had, over the course of her treating Joshua Primo, she repeatedly alerted team officials that Primo was exposing his genitals to her, and the team constantly said, "Oh no, we're handling it. Don't worry, we're handling it." But nothing changed. Instead of disciplining Primo for these alleged exposures, the Spurs covered up the alleged harassment last winter and just decided not to renew her contract for the upcoming season. Primo has since gone on to say, "Hey." He accused he said that she was using uglier stereotypes and racially charged fears against her for her own financial gain, despite her lawsuit not actually seeking any monetary damages. So this is one of those cases where the Spurs organization was willing to sacrifice a female doctor to keep what they hoped would one day be a star player. But once Primo's conduct was exposed through this lawsuit, because she felt she had no other recourse because the team wasn't doing anything, the Spurs were forced to ask to release him.
Wow.
So that's what we're looking at
it is
there.
what it is, I guess.
Now, there is
More to
another
come
story
later.
that dovetails with this. I'm sorry, Frank. I don't mean to
Oh, it's
derail
okay.
this, but there is another story that kind of dovetails with this. Kyrie Irving has been suspended.
No less than 5 games.
Yes, for posting links to anti-Semitic and hate-related materials. They gave him plenty of opportunity to take it down, and anti-Semitism is not anything that can be condoned anywhere. Should never be condoned anywhere. The fact that he refused to do it for an extended period of time, finally Joe Tsai and the NBA finally said, "Okay, look, you got to take it down. If you don't, you're going to be suspended." So they suspended him for it. Now, he is going to be working with the Anti-Defamation League, a nonprofit organization that fights anti-Semitism, and has pledged to donate $500,000 towards causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance.
This is because he posted a movie. There's a movie out there that is full of racist tropes against Jews. This is what I hear. I haven't seen the movie. This is one of those situations where I'm going up. If I decide to see the movie to see what all the fuss is about, am I a racist?
No, but at the same time, you're giving it life, and you're breathing more life into it by giving it views and clicks.
And here's the problem I have: sight unseen. How do I know? And have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie, no.
Okay, there's my issue. Okay, that's where I stand with a lot of the black basketball players in the NBA who are really upset about this. in the sense that this is just to tell the other side of the story, where they're not supporting any of this stuff that's going on with Kyrie. There's been a deafening silence in the NBA with black players who haven't said anything negative about Kyrie Irving. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying I agree with them, but I'm just trying to open the story up to if you will, the rest of the story. So there's this feeling among black athletes that maybe this is something that shouldn't have happened. But again, this is basketball entering the real world, and being in basketball and being in the real world are two different things, and they don't necessarily coexist nicely because there are two different standards. At least I think there are two different standards at play.
No, I mean, I can certainly appreciate that. And again, I have no desire to see this movie. It's been out since 2015.
Yeah, no, I
So it's
I
been
was
in the public
curious.
sphere, but
I'm curious because it's like hearsay. I'd like to eliminate hearsay. If I hear what the fuss is all about, I can say without equivocation, I can say, yeah, this movie is bad and it shouldn't be promoted. Now, having seen it, I don't know if that strikes the same as promoting it, but we can agree to disagree on that one. Let's quickly get to apparently everyone hates teachers right now in
yeah.
Ontario.
So this is one of those weird situations where it's like, okay, so we need to negotiate a deal. Okay. We are in a position to strike because we haven't had a contract for custodial workers, early childhood education workers, and educational assistants, as well as office administrative staff, since the end of the month of August. This could have been handled already. These negotiations could have been completed within days if they really wanted to. But we are in a legal strike position. No, we're not going to strike. We just want you to know we're in a legal strike position. If you bring in back to work legislation and we haven't gone on strike yet, we'll go on strike. And the Ford government went, okay, we're passing back to work legislation. To which the teachers said, we told you we were going to go on strike if you did this. And then you went ahead and did it. So now we're going on strike. And the government is basically trying to paint the teachers as the bad guys here.
But it's always like that. And then there's the notwithstanding clause that the Trudeau government, Trudeau in particular, doesn't like the fact that Ford will be trying to use, which he has. They passed a law yesterday, and it went with a lot of catcalls in the audience, but it happened. Elon Musk. We're down to a last couple of minutes. This guy was one of the richest men in the world. He dropped to like 20 because he bought Twitter. That's a red flag. You buy a company and it ends up dragging you down from the richest man to 20 something. And he's a guy who talked about bringing Trump back to Twitter. But the one thing that he said, and if he's true to his word, you and I had this conversation about Twitter and about using real names and stuff like that. I've mentioned to you. The thing that he's offered is to eliminate bots, which I think that's like the first thing that somebody should do.
Well, see, there's a few things that call his claim about eliminating bots into question. When he's eliminated a lot of the curating teams, he's eliminated a lot of the fact checking teams. There have been 37 employees that he's terminated in the 1 week that
25%,
company,
a quarter of the employees.
He's now facing a class action lawsuit in California because of the fact that he's dismissed 25% of their employees without sufficient notice. So there's that. But he's trying to blame activists for the chaos that is going on here. And, the fact that they're losing money as it currently stands. General Motors, Volkswagen, Audi, Pfizer, General Mills, a whole bunch of others, whole companies, Mondelez International, the people that make Oreo cookies, they're out. Interpublic Group and all of their clients, they're out because this guy's management style is so chaotic that they no longer feel that it's a stable enough platform for them to advertise on it.
So he's a stable, unstable billionaire.
Yeah, I wouldn't even start to call him a genius because that ain't it.
I didn't use the word either, but he is kind of. He does a lot of great things. He's invented some wonderful things. He's been a leading guy in electric cars, which is something that everybody wants to promote that is environmentally friendly. So, he's done some great things, but that doesn't mean he's going to do everything great, right?
No, that's definitely true.
Thanks for doing this, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Glad to be here, Frank.
Okay, he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Leaf Talk, seen live on Fridays. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Leaf Talk, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, and thank you for being here.